Hello, I want to say a little bit today about self-esteem and our personal power, and the two are quite closely connected. And in my other videos on self-esteem, I have mentioned that self-esteem actually can impact on every area of our life, and particularly those decisions that we make regarding our relationships and our future are concerned. And so self-esteem is quite an important subject for us to focus on in order to support the rest of our life and to support our purpose and our reason for being here, so that we can maintain a healthy level of self-esteem, and therefore we can support our future growth in that respect as well, which is quite an awesome aspect of our being. Self-esteem and the way we view ourselves is a serious aspect that we need to consider, so that we can go on to maintain high self-esteem and also to recognise those things that may be drawing away from our self-esteem and our feelings of self-worth, and therefore affecting the other areas of our life. And one of those areas that I want to just highlight today is our personal power. And often we find ourselves feeling as if we've been drained or are being drained of our personal power. And sometimes it's not until we actually have no feeling of personal power at all before we realise that this situation or this relationship or this person has actually been draining us. And we may find that we actually have no personal power left at all, it seems, at the end of the day. But it is possible to regain our personal power. But one of the useful tips to do before we do that, if we want to look at our personal power, is to look at our levels of self-esteem and to just have a look at those areas that may be impacting on our self-esteem, which then may be impacting on our personal power. Because sometimes when we have low self-esteem or not very high self-esteem, sometimes we can compromise our personal power by giving away our personal power in order to try and raise our self-esteem and our self-confidence levels. And when we compromise ourselves in various situations, and we can do it in all sorts of ways, it sometimes impacts on our personal power, and then we feel weaker. We can feel that impact on our power levels, and that is not necessarily a good position to be in, because then we have even less power to raise our self-esteem. So maintaining high levels of self-esteem at the highest level possible, and that will vary for all of us, means that will impact on our personal power levels and our feelings of empowerment. So when we work on our self-esteem levels and our self-confidence levels, and those two often impact one another, that will also impact on our personal power. And so we can move up using all these aspects of ourselves in order to support one another. And so our self-confidence will support our self-esteem, and those two, our self-esteem and our confidence, will support our feelings of personal power, which will then feed into our self-confidence and our self-esteem. And so that will be a sort of perpetuating motion there. And so we can see that if we are in a dysfunctional situation, for instance, and we find that all these areas are being impacted, then often that impacts on our personal power, which is why some people find it very difficult to get out, because it's not only about the situation that they find themselves in, but it's also about the fact that they may have been drained in these various areas as far as their personal power is concerned. And so when we maintain those areas at a high level, so if we maintain high self-esteem and therefore maintain high personal power and self-confidence, we're more likely to be able to not attract those situations that are on the lower levels, such as dysfunctional and abusive situations, because we're maintaining a high level of frequency and a high level of personal power and energy in our system by taking care of all these different aspects. So it's quite a good idea to build up all the various aspects of our lives at the same time and maintain them at a high level energetically as much as we can. And so it's quite a good idea to see the types of things that are impacting our self-esteem and our personal power, potentially in a negative way, or they could be impacting them in a positive way, and yet we may have this other aspect over here which is impacting them negatively. So it's quite a good idea to have a look at the broad spectrum of areas in our life, in our being, and just having a look there to see what aspects in our life are being impacted by the various situations and relationships that we're involved in at the moment. So, as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.